We will never break. We will never break. Build on a foundation strong enough to stay. We will never break. As the water rises and the mountain shakes, our love will remain.
I want to hear first from my mother, the rock of our family, who raised 11 boys in the household as the only female in the household. Strong men. We love you, Mom. We love you.
Good afternoon. I stand here giving all praises to God. We are so overwhelmed with the love and support that we feel at this moment from everyone who has supported us on our journey. I had a lot prepared, but I'm going to throw it out the window. I just wanted you to know a few things about the man, Alonzo Tambua Moody, that you may not know. I'll begin with his teen years. We grew up together as Protestants in Central Presbyterian Church on Ward Street. He was a few years older than me, and as he attended Central High School, I was also at Central for 1 year. I watched him from afar. I was attracted to him, tall, athletic. His first love was basketball, which he played for hours every day. Actually, he was a very good player. He was scoring 28 points a game, which was unheard of in the 60s. And to this day, I can't bring him away from the basketball court. He graduated Central High School, now Kennedy High School, and he graduated on a Wednesday, and on a Saturday, he got his letter from the draft. He was going straight into the Vietnam War. For those of you that are young, you probably don't know what the draft is, but it's been enacted for every war that the United States has been in. It's a lottery system. Men ages 18 to 25, they had to register with Selective Service, and then they were called upon. I can't imagine what his family felt when he was drafted so quickly. But I thought I would never see him again once he went into the armed services. He was drafted into the Army, but he chose to go into the Air Force. At those times, I said, okay, he's gone. I won't see him again. And I don't know if he knew how I felt, because I watched him with all the other girls in high school. He was a true jock. But his years in the service, one of those years, he had a chance encounter with Stokely Carmichael. Stokely Carmichael was there at one of the universities to speak to the Black Student Union. And he pulled Alonzo to the side, I think it was Destiny, and he said, "Brother, have you read the autobiography of Malcolm X?" And he replied, "No." He said, "Don't you know what's happening on the mainland in the United States? Our people are fighting." And he said, "Will you promise me that you will read the autobiography of Malcolm X?" And he did. And that set him on a road to being an activist in his own right. In the early 1970, we married. We married in the church that we grew up in. And our wedding was not unlike coming to America. It was an African-inspired wedding. And people, I guess, were curious to see what this wedding was like. But we also did the Christian vows as well. But we wrote our vows. And I guess it was something in him and in me that said, we have to make things better. we vowed to our congregation that we would use our abilities and our energy to make our community a better place to live. And that has stuck with us. Even after we married as a young couple, we had our first child, Malik, and he wasn't even a year old. And we began to travel to Newark, to the Committee for Unified Newark, under the auspices and leadership of Imamu Amiri Baraka, known as Leroy Jones. If you know him, he was a prolific writer, poet, activist, and we liked what was going on in Newark. So we represented the cadre from Patterson. There were cadres all over Philly. We were all studying Kawaida and philosophy of African ways to build and thrive. And with that in our back pocket, we began to work in other ways. We would meet in Neighborhood House on Graham Avenue. It was my husband and I and some friends that have probably, most have moved away. Where? Oh, yes. And we felt that the only way for Black people to make any progress in this country was to unify. The first principle of Kwanzaa, Umoja. And we began by looking at politics. We supported John Bell, who ran for mayor, didn't win. We supported Martha Bowles Efese, who's a great educator, who built a school here in Patterson to the 3rd grade. Excellent school. Our 3 sons attended that school, and she's listening and watching now because we talk frequently. She moved to her home in the South. But with her blessings, you know, we wanted our children to have the best of everything, the best in education, the best in social skills, you know, the best in their commitment to do better and to make their community better, just like their mother and father. I think we kind of succeeded, didn't we? Yes, yes. And not just for our children, but for all children, all children. And you know, a lot of teachers would say, these are my children. Yes, they are your children. And we decided to, which we didn't know when we got married, that there was a children's haven home here in Patterson for abandoned, abused, and neglected children. Our church, many were on the board, they started this home. And if you want to know about diversity, all you had to do was come to Children's Haven. We had children of every nationality, every race, and they worked in harmony. And it wasn't an easy place to live because we expected much of them. We had chores, you know, we had rules, negative and positive consequences, and my husband will probably say more about that. And these men who were saying they would work to death, well, I told my husband, don't you know there are child labor laws that exist? They would get up at 5 in the morning in the winter, yes, and go shovel elderly people's homes before they went to school. Don't run for office because who would they call? Moody. We have all our flyers. Moody, can you get these out into the community? Sure. He was very regimented in what part of town the kids were dropped off at this point. They had to pick him up at the other point and be finished before time to go to school. I think it taught them character, and they were paid. So we say, you're paid. So what are you going to do with your money? We taught them to save at least 50% of their money. And many of the children that left us left with a big bank account. And they, you know, it's just training for life. That's what we did with them. And our place was the happening place in Patterson because a lot of children would come visit and we had to call their parents. They've been here for 3 days, don't you want them back? And the girls, because it was a home for boys, as Mrs. Cotton knew. Our friend Cecile Dickey, if any of you remember her, her name is on Head Start Education Building on the east side. Fierce educator, fierce advocate for early childhood education and Head Start. And she, we miss her very, very much. But she was right. You have to start the kids early with their learning and give them a chance to get ahead. So, she said to my husband and I, and our children at this time were 6, 3, and 1 years old. And she called us up. She said, we need house parents, we need foster parents for this group of children. And then my husband came to me. Now, I'm working full time. He says, you think we can do it? And I said, what are you talking about? He says, well, this is our chance. And I said, yeah, you're right. We always said if we lived with the children, we gave them love, we gave them structure, it would mean a whole different trajectory for their life. And I said, okay. So here we are in tow. We come to Children's Haven. My husband was very revolutionary. He had this big afro. He had the dark shades. I have my afro, my African clothing, and the staff, they're like, who are these people? But, once they got to know us, they know that we meant business. And Kawisi was not even a year old when we went into Children's Haven. And it was a home for boys and girls, but we told them, absolutely not boys and girls, because now DYFS, Division of Youth and Family Services, want to place preteen and teenagers. So of course, naturally, we had sons, so we said, no, there must be boys. And they agreed with us. And we were only supposed to be there 2 or 3 years. The psychologist that interviewed us said, if you make 2 years, that'll be great. We stayed 12 years. And I thank my children because it was rough on them. We didn't make any difference between the children that were placed there and our children. We said we will not do that to them. And they had the same rules. They had the same demerits and restriction if they broke a rule. They were rewarded. We took them everywhere. We took them to Canada. A lot of them had never been on a train ride. Through upstate New York, we made them map it out. We took them to 3 cities in Canada. We took them to Florida. None of them had never been on an airplane ride before, to Disney World. And we treated them as our own. And there's some of them here today, and they could tell you themselves. We love them, and we still love them to this day. And we're so proud of the work we did, because now they've grown into men with families of their own who are giving back to the community. I have one funny story, because even though my husband is very serious, most of the time, and easygoing, stoic, he has a sense of humor. I don't have one. He says, I don't have a funny bone in my body. But this one particular night, he came home, and we tried to make the home peaceful because it was just so much. With 13 boys, there was always something going on. And he came home one night truly exhausted. He was still working at the Passaic County shelter. And then he went to all of these meetings in the evening. He was on every board, every community group. And he came and he said, Kimata, just send my plate up to the room. I said, okay. So I was still in the kitchen. One of the boys took his tray up with his food, sat it outside the master bedroom. Now, on the second floor of that house, all the bedrooms are on the same floor. The master bedroom, the kids' rooms, and the largest bathroom. And all of a sudden, we hear this commotion. Of course, one of the boys, I'll call him Jay, who's very rambunctious, who just runs everywhere he goes. He ran into his tray and food went everywhere. And we were all saying, oh my God, the kids, we were all standing, what's gonna happen now? Poor man. And he said, Jay, come here a minute. He says, repeat after me. I would rather run through hell in gasoline-soaked drawers than to knock Mr. Moody's food on the floor. And we all burst out laughing with the image in our minds. But he uses humor all the time with the students and the children that he works with and with the families. And I think he's just brilliant in what he does. I love him to death, and I see you all love him too. And we thank you. We're so proud of this day. Okay.
At this time, ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment that we've all been waiting for. We want to give thanks and honor appropriately. Put your hands together for our guest of honor, Mr. Alonzo Tambor Moody.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am extremely humbled by all this. And I just can't thank you. I want to thank everyone, all of you who are out here. Especially thanks to the Board of Education, Superintendent, Commissioners, Commissioner Capers for nominating me for this, and all of those that support this. It's a very, very humbling experience, and I thank you. Just hearing, all the things, again, is humbling, embarrassing, seems like. But I just want to say, like, this school, the Great Falls Academy, is a special kind of a situation, a special place. It really got started because we started a program called the Total Lifestyle and Support Program. That was designed and developed to reduce the number of juveniles that was being sent to prison, to Jamesburg. Schools, it really got kicked off in 1986, but in '85, the Supreme Court under the Chief Justice Walentz had directed the counties to develop programs to reduce the number of juveniles that were being incarcerated. And during that time, Passaic County led the state in the number of commitments to the state home for boys and girls the last 13 out of 15 years. Passaic County was sending more kids to jail than Essex County. We were sending double the number that Essex was sending, and it was a tremendous amount of kids going to jail. So this Chief Justice, they directed the counties to develop programs that would reduce that number, and provided funds to the county. And through that, um, along with the family court presiding judge, the family court, we got together and put together a proposal to do that. And so the proposal called for students, for juveniles that were in a situation where if we didn't take them in that program, then they would be sent to jail for a minimum of 2 years, 2.5 years. So there could not be any other alternative. So for a juvenile to be in that situation, usually, it was the kind of rough kids. Wasn't your regular Sunday go to meeting type of juvenile. Their jacket was about this thick, so they were hardcore. And so when they were placed in the program, or conditioned by the judge, was that they had to be in school. So those youngsters, when I would take them back to the school, try to re-sign them up for school, the principal saw them coming in, hell no, no. Said, no way. I couldn't put them back into school. And so I was at a football game with East Side with old Dr. Napier, and we were talking, and I said, Doc, I can't get the kids back in school. What do you mean? He said, the principal won't take them. They said, they won't get them back. He said, well, what do you mean? Well, I'll come by Monday and we'll talk and we'll see what we can do. So he came by, we were up at Grand Street at the time, and I had about 35 youngsters. He walked in, he said, damn, Aaron, look like you got pretty good control of them. What if I put a teacher here? I don't care how we do it, Doc, they need to be, we gotta be them in school. And so he sent a teacher there. And then, young white, first teacher was a young white woman from Mount Clair. I had a room full of thugs. So certainly she wasn't gonna manage them. But she didn't have to manage them. We managed them. All she had to do was teach. And so she happened to be a great teacher. So I had 35 kids, or 32 kids. Every kid's on a different level. So she had to teach all of them. So she did an excellent job, and that was the beginning. And as we proceeded, and they saw that, so it was working, so they ended up making a whole school out of it. So by 1986, we had our staff to get going with it, and it continued. Now, the other interesting thing about Great Falls Academy, all the service providers to these youngsters, we reached out and pulled them together from, from the family court to the prosecutor's office, public defender's office, probation department, DIFAS, the schools again, the other social service agencies that might be involved, the housing authority, the police department, everybody played a part. And we put everybody on the page, so every entity, whenever they had interaction with the kid, they were saying the same thing. So we all saying the same thing to the youngster. I think that's what made it more effective. Usually kids adults have a hard time getting kids to listen, because what I learned is that everybody's saying something different. So they don't know who to follow. Who should they follow? So they don't follow nobody because everybody's saying something different. So I learned that then we that are providing those services, we have to get on the same page and we have to say the same thing. We have to be saying the same message, and that pulls them in. And the kids, they don't care how firm you are. They got a problem with how fair you are. So you could be as firm as you need to be. If you fair, they buy into you, and they support you, and they follow you. And that was a key behind that. But so the overall goals of the school was like, in addition to teaching the 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic, right? The school decided to focus on decision making because, that's the basis, your decision, and so we all engaged to work to provide those kinds of services that will inspire or get the youngster to one point. If it's about decision making, there's 2 decisions, a negative decision and a positive decision. Well, we want you to make positive decisions because, the results, you make a decision, there's a consequence. So if you make a negative decision, there's going to be a negative consequence. You don't care if it has to travel around the world and come back, but negativity is coming back to you, right? Make a positive decision, that goes back. So whatever comes back is a positive thing. So I want your consequences to be positive. For that to happen, you need to make a positive decision. So now our effort is to convince the youngster, whatever decision you make, again, someone mentioned before, we don't know a whole lot. I say often, in terms of knowing stuff for sure and facts, the difference between a fact and a belief. I only know 2 facts. Everybody hear that's a lot. H2O equals water. And I learned that not long ago, folks. Really. And 2, your ass gonna die. Everything is a belief. So just because I believe something to be true, don't mean it's true. So understanding that, it makes you a little humble. So what to do? Telling the youngster what to do. Well, what I can say, whatever your decision is, if you ensure that it's a positive decision, you're gonna be okay. And so that's the effort. That's the effort, is try to get the youngsters to make positive decisions. And then doing that, in the beginning, I always relied on, said this was a battle, the school, like getting it going. And I thought about battles, war. And my attention was drawn to a 5th century Chinese military genius, Sun Tzu. And Sun Tzu said, "He who enters the battle with the hope of victory has already lost." Wow. So he who enters the battle with the hope of victory has already lost. Well, I want to win. What you got to do to win? So, and then he went further and he said, it's 6 steps to victory. 6 steps to victory? He says, yes. It's the way to work it out. First step, you have a situation. The 6 steps of situation: analyze, facts, analyst, plan, win. So what does that mean? It says, first thing, you have a situation. The next thing you do is that you analyze that situation. Third thing you do is gather all the facts around that situation. Then you give it a second analysis. And then you develop a plan. And then he says, then you win. You don't say you go battle, he said, then you win.
All right.
So if you follow these steps, then you win. And that's the whole thing, you follow those 6 steps and you win. So this battle of, say, the Great Falls Academy School was a battle. And following Sun Tzu, we win. And so say to the staff and teachers, it's continuous. This is a battle. You want to win, follow 6 steps, And I'm just so proud the kinds of stuff that come out, and the folks, the stuff that they contribute and do, it's so humbling. And that for all the the participants, all the clients, all the students, and all the staff. Just so humbled and appreciative. And I want to thank all of you again for standing out in all this cold and all this time for this people. So thank you so much. Thank you. Good pleasure. Thank you. And please, I can't leave without saying, extra, double extra. So thank you so much to my wife. You just don't know how much she had to put up with. So thank you again.
Thank you very much for that wisdom. So, in closing out, I want to also offer our thanks to all of you for coming out tonight. As you know, our entire family was here, our extended family, my wife, her mother and father, my sister-in-law, my brother's here. He was working, so he had to come after the mayor left. So he came through. But thank you all for coming. At this time, folks, there's just one last piece of the program. We will do the traditional ceremonial ribbon cutting at this time. And we will have a tour of the school and the artwork that we're talking about. However, we only can go in 25 at a time, and you will not want to miss that artwork that's in the side of this building. So please stick around and take a tour with us through the front of the building. Thank you. We also had a cheerleader from Mr. Moody's High School who came with her cheerleading outfit from Central High School. If any
It's not that long. You might have to do a look. He's right here.
Quiet down, just a second.
Everyone quiet down, please. Thank you.
Okay, here we go.
Hello. Hello, Mr. Moody. My name is Penelope, and this is my partner, Julio. I want to congratulate you on this well-deserved honor today. On behalf of all the people of Patterson that you have dedicated your life to, I want to present you with these very special original pieces of art that we have worked on for your special day. This is a special dedication from the children of Patterson to you and your legacy.
All right, the first one, ladies first. Mom, we're going to go ahead and unveil this piece for you. That's your piece. Go ahead, Julio. Let them get over there before you pull it. Wait.
Wait, hold on.
Wait. Go ahead, Dad. Get over there. Let him get. All right, guys. Come here. Get over here, baby. You get over there. You get there. Let me hold that.
2, 3.
Oh, my God. everybody get over here. Is everybody ready? Pull them down, girl. Right? Outstanding. Go give them a hug. Yes. Give me the paper. Go give them a hug.
So I want to show you, this is our counseling suite.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Get that picture. Mom, that's it right there.
All right. Come on.
Come on, give her a hug. Take a picture. There you go. Everybody get...
This wall is a representation to the powerful legacy that Al Moody, Tumble Moody, has left in the city of Patterson. We are so honored to be here in the school named after him with the excellent teachers and other staff and the principal Moody, who are running a great program to change the lives of these students, who many find challenging, but these staff members and teachers and my husband, we wanted to make life better for them also. Thank you.
Give it to Mr. Moody. Mr. Moody, just thank everybody. Whatever.
Again, I just want to thank everyone involved with making this thing possible. I'm so deeply humbled by this. I just can't stop thinking and appreciating and expressing my gratitude for all of this. It's extremely humbling, and I want to thank everyone who's involved in this. Thank you.
We will never break. We will never break. Build on a foundation strong enough to stay.